Our sessions are going to start shortly, so everybody is requested to stay in a disciplined manner. And I think the chief guest is there. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you're feeling revitalized after lunch. As we reconvene for our afternoon sessions, I once again welcome the Honorable Chief Justices, esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students. It is a profound privilege to host you all here in Lucknow for the significant international conference. The confluence of global judicial leadership is a momentous occasion, and its importance is heightened by the presence of our esteemed chief guest. It is my distinct honor to introduce Dr. Jitendra Singh, the Honorable Union Minister of State for the Government of India. Dr. Singh holds independent charge of the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Furthermore, he serves as a Minister of State in the Prime Minister's Office with responsibilities spanning the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, the Department of Atomic Energy, and the Department of Space too. His multifaceted role in spearheading India's technological, scientific, and administrative initiatives, bringing an invaluable perspective to our discussions on the future of global justice. We are truly honored by your presence, sir, and we eagerly anticipate your insights. Can we have a huge round of applause for our respected chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Sir will be deliberating on the topic climate justice and planetary stewardship, legal frameworks for existential challenges. May I now request our respected manager, Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdon, to introduce our special chief guest for today.
Students, what a great absolute honor to have amongst us and all the judges and chief justices here from 52 countries. I would like to take the time to introduce Honorable Dr. Jitendra Singh, the chief guest for this afternoon's deliberations. And you will be so pleased to know, particularly for the students, I would say, that Sir is the Union Minister for Science and Technology with independent charge. He's also responsible for earth sciences. And many of you are aspiring to be students of science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. And those STEM subjects are all, the development of STEM is extremely important for any country's growth and prosperity. And the one individual who heads that department and who's steering public policy on science and technology And indeed, you'll be interested to know that even space comes under Sir's ministry. So it's my great pleasure to read out a very brief introduction to the personage who's here, whom we are privileged to have here as our chief guest today. Honorable Dr. Jitendra Singh is an eminent Indian physician politician, currently serving as the Union Minister of State with independent charge for science and technology and earth sciences, in addition to holding key responsibilities in the Prime Minister's office and the Department of Space, Atomic Energy, Personnel, and Public Grievances. He is a distinguished medical professional, and he was that before entering into public life. Dr. Singh is trained as an endocrinologist and a diabetologist, holding a MBBS degree from the Stanley Medical College of Chennai and a MD from Government Medical College in Jammu. His career spans clinical practice, consultancy, teaching, and research, during which he has authored widely read medical texts, including the best-selling Diabetes Made Easy, and he has contributed chapters to leading postgraduate books on medicine and in his area of specialism of endocrinology and diabetology. In government, Dr. Jitendra Singh has been at the forefront of advancing India's science and technology agenda, championing innovation-led development, deep tech missions, and sustainable research ecosystems. His leadership has strengthened India's strategic capabilities in areas such as space, biotechnology, climate science, and scientific capacity building, with a strong emphasis on startups and future-ready research frameworks. Given his stewardship of the nation's principal science ministries and his long-standing commitment to evidence-based policy, the making of evidence-based policy, or if you like, evidence-based policy making, Dr. Singh's presence as chief guest in this International Conference of Chief Justices of the World in the panel on climate change and planetary stewardship, legal frameworks for existential challenges, is especially significant. His interdisciplinary expertise, bridging medicine, public policy, and frontier science, if you like, the frontiers of science, aligns closely with the panel's mission to explore equitable, science-driven solutions for global climate resilience. Friends, we know how much science is intertwined, in fact, with so many aspects of life. We also know that when we look for solutions to the problems of the world, we often turn to science. Science is both a bane, in a sense. It can become a bane if it's not properly steered or guided, or the purposes for which it is used are not they're not consistent with human welfare. There are plenty of aspects of science that could go awry if not steered properly through public policy. Here's the role of public policy maker, senior public policy maker in our land, that is Dr. Jitendra Singh, and it's a huge honor for us to have him here today. Will you please very warmly welcome Honorable Dr. Jitendra Singh ji.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your address, sir. The lighting of the lamp, or Deep Prajwalan, holds a profound significance. It symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and hope over despair. It is believed that where there is light, there is God. And this ceremony invokes the blessings of the Almighty for the success of our event. To grace a significant moment, I would like to invite our esteemed dignitaries to the stage to light the ceremonial lamp of light. I would like our President, Dr. Roja, I would like Dr. Jitendra Singh, and also Shubhanshu Shukla ji to please honor.
May this light spread far all over the world for peace and harmony. May the Lord keep this light always burning forever and ever. May this light spread far all over the world for peace and harmony. May the Lord keep this light always burning forever and ever, forever and ever.
We witness the glow of a flame, a beacon of auspiciousness and positive energy. Thank you, esteemed guests, for illuminating our path today. With this divine light kindled, we've officially commenced our event for today.
Spread far
We pray that this light guides all our proceedings and brings success to this function.
peace and harmony. May the Lord keep this light always burning forever and ever. May this light spread far all over the world for peace and harmony.
On behalf of the organizing committee of the 26th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to the crucial panel discussion on the topic Climate Justice and Planetary Stewardship, Legal Framework for Existential Challenges. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to our esteemed panel. With a huge round of applause, I welcome our esteemed moderator, Dr. Joshua Lincoln, who is a senior fellow at the Center for International Law and Governance at Fletcher, the Graduate School of Global Affairs, Tufts University. Between 2013 and 2019, Dr. Lincoln served as the Secretary General of the Baha'i International Community, representing the International Governing Council in External Affairs, while managing relations with governments, municipalities, universities, and civil society organizations. His extensive UN experience spans from 2000 to 2013. Including roles as Director the Cabinet to the Director General of the UN Office at Geneva and Senior Officer in Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's Executive Office. He worked in mediation and preventive diplomacy with the UN Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission and participated in peacekeeping missions in Ethiopia and North and South Sudan. Now, I would like to welcome Honorable Mr. Justice Gwalapelwe G. Ketlogetswe, Chief Justice, High Court, Botswana. Sir serves as the Chief Justice of the High Court of Botswana, bringing over 30 years of justice system experience, spanning roles as magistrate, principal magistrate, assistant registrar, and master of the High Court and High Court judge. His major reform initiatives include extended High Court reach by establishing courts in underserved regions, such as introducing mediation to reduce case backlogs and setting up specialized commercial and criminal courts. Chief Justice Ketlogetswe has focused on improving court administration resources, tackling court reporter shortages, and enhancing record systems for more efficient justice delivery. His comprehensive approach addresses both access to justice and institutional capacity building through Botswana's judicial system. Our next panelist is Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. Though he needs no introduction, but it is a proud privilege for us to let the students know a little more about him. Shubhanshu Shukla is a Group Captain and Test Pilot with the Indian Air Force and a Gaganyatri or astronaut with the Indian Space Research Organization, representing India's pioneering achievements in space exploration. A graduate of City Montessori School in Lucknow, he made history in July 2025 by becoming the first ISRO astronaut to visit the International Space Station while participating in Axiom Mission 4, a privately organized spaceflight marking him as a second Indian to travel to space. As a qualified test pilot, he brings over 2,000 hours of flying experience across diverse aircrafts. His unique combination of military aviation expertise and space exploration experience positions him at the forefront of India's expanding role in international space cooperation and technological advancement, bridging defense capabilities with civilian space exploration initiatives. Can we have a huge round of applause, children? Our next panelist is Mr. Inderjeet Singh, who is a senior IAS officer of the UP government, holding the roles of Special Secretary, Energy Department, Director of Non-Conventional and Energy Resources Department, Special Secretary for Non-Renewable Energy Sources, and Managing Director of UP Renewable and EV Infrastructure Limited, Lucknow. Mr. Inderjeet Singh is spearheading the state's transition to sustainable energy, overseeing initiatives for renewable adoption, electric vehicle infrastructure, and regulatory frameworks for non-conventional energy. Let us all welcome our last and final panelist, Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Muzonda, who serves as a Deputy Chief Justice of Zambia following his appointment to the Supreme Court. He brings exceptional academic credentials with law degrees from the University of Zambia, King's College London, and Oxford University, combining rigorous legal education with practical experience. Before his judicial appointment, he practiced law for over 20 years while simultaneously teaching at the University of Zambia and the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education. As Deputy Chief Justice, Justice Musonda has championed critical reforms, including enhanced access to justice, improved judicial efficiency, and comprehensive modernization of court systems. His leadership encompasses advocating for specialized judicial training programs and addressing infrastructure challenges that impact court operations throughout Zambia. His unique combination of extensive legal practice, academic teaching experience, and senior judicial leadership provides comprehensive insights into legal system development and judicial capacity building. Can we have a huge round of applause for the entire panelists? Now over to the moderator, Dr. Joshua Lincoln. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests, our Chief Honorable Guest Minister today, thank you so much for being here. Students, hello again. Can we have a warm hello? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry, I'm getting old. Let's stand up. Once more, please.
Come on, guys, show some energy. Can we have a loud Jai Jagat, please? Jai Jagat. One more time.
Thank you very much. Only a graduate can do the job. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel will last 4 or 5 hours. I hope you're okay with that. We have so many things to discuss between us. You won't mind. Get comfortable. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Wonderful. So we're going to pause a minute. I understand that the Honorable Minister is going to join us. So as we begin, we'll wait for him to be added in. If you would join us, Honorable Minister. I'm going to give you this chair. I'll take this.
It would be a profound privilege for us to have Dr. Jitendra Singh ji to be there as a part of the panel. Can we have a huge round of applause, children?
Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, members of the panel, please sit. Please sit. The Honorable Minister is very, very kind and gracious in allowing us all to talk amongst ourselves. I'm going to introduce the panel in 1 minute because we've all been introduced. And then we will have the Honorable Minister give us some initial remarks to kick us off. And following that, the members of the panel will then give comments and we can continue the conversation. Honorable Minister, I believe you're the boss of this gentleman here. Is that correct? You're his minister of the astronaut. So for the first time, we will have an interesting interaction to see how this goes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the climate change panel, the Earth Stewardship panel. I would like to just outline the range that we have of views here today for this panel. We're going from Mr. Singh here, who is really leading implementation on the ground for renewable energy in India's largest state, UP. So if there's anyone at the front lines of implementation of the net zero transition, of the movement towards decarbonization, towards a cleaner future, this is the gentleman. So I am hoping that we can ask him some questions with respect to those issues. We then have two distinguished jurists with us. And I think we will keep a keen eye on the law. We have an astronaut who has been out beyond, and he will help us reflect back. And I'm hoping to ask him, and I may ask his chief, the minister, as well. It takes a lot of resources, a lot of science, a lot of STEM, and a lot of money and effort to get someone out into the space. And I wonder, once you get out there, do you turn around, and is the journey back marked by having gone out in a rocket on STEM? Do you come back the same way, or do you come back humanized and with a view towards ecology, with a view towards values, with a view towards a different understanding of the planet from where you started? So with that brief introduction, I think we will ask the Chief Minister please to address us and welcome him once again, please, to the stage as he goes to the podium.
Thank you very much. Seated over here, the learned panelists, also distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I have to profoundly thank the CMS Director, Dr. Bharati Gandhi, also the President, Dr. Rogers, for having got me over here. I have been in and out of Lucknow for almost 3 to 4 decades, and virtually every month I am here, but I don't know how I missed out being at this place. So thanks very much for doing me that good and making me wiser. It's really eye-opener, the manner the academics is flourishing in the 4 walls of this campus. And on my way, I was trying to educate myself from my companions about the city Montessori school. And I was actually, I realized that this could be a role model for many others to follow. At the same time, I was wondering why I am to speak at a Panelist of Juris, because I am a voracious reader and I read every subject, beginning from fiction to history to biography to the history of subcontinent. I have about 500 books on the partition of India itself, to cinema, to film actors, even the latest thrillers I go through every week of the preceding publications of the week. But I very discreetly leave out the law-related books. That is one foray. I neither feel interest much to do. So, kind of the moderator for having included me. But now, after having spent a few moments over there, I realized that maybe Shubhanshu is the reason for me to be there. So, if an Air Force officer and an astronaut can be a panelist on a law discussion, I think not too unbecoming for a doctor or a scientist or endocrinologist to be there. And if not anything else, with my primitive knowledge about law, I can at least ensure the healthy well-being of all the panelists among the jurists. Because you need to have an accompanying doctor in every VIP gathering. So, I think we'll of course have a small interaction thereafter so that we know what the students actually want to know, because the age of one-sided discourse is over. And I don't risk that, because otherwise the children go home and make fun of you. They say there was a VIP today who was asked to narrate, and it went on and on and on, and that becomes a topic of good fun for these children back home. So instead of taking that risk, I'll just make some introductory remarks as been suggested by Dr. Bharati Gandhi. And before that, of course, I am glad to be a part of the conference which is being held in a city which is known for its cultural values, its civilizational richness, and also glad to be part of a discussion which is based on a very contemporary theme which is both contemporary, at least at the same time also futuristic, that is science, technology, and planetary stewardship. And having something to do with the climate and also something to do with the space, I think I can satisfy myself by telling myself that I'm not as unqualified as I thought when I was climbing up the steps of this stage. Now, incidentally, we are all children of an age, of an era where we are confronted with interconnected crises. So it's a whole big spectrum and a big assortment. You have the climate change crisis, you have the pandemics, we just came out of COVID, you have cyber threats, which you come across every third day. We have the ocean degradation, that is another department I'm linked to, the Department of Earth Sciences. We are among the first in the world who have embarked on a deep ocean mission, considering that we have about 12,000 kilometer long coastal area, the longest in the, perhaps among the longest in the world. And the government is giving such a huge priority to this that Prime Minister Modi spoke about it from the ramparts of Red Fort in his Independence Day address, not once but consecutively twice in 2023 and 2022. And as all of us know, the Independence Day of any Prime Minister is actually considered to be or taken as a declaration of intent of the government in place. So you can understand. And rightly so, when we talk of rising from economy rank 4 to 3 to 1, where are these resources going to come from? So they are going to come from those sources which were hitherto either underexplored or unexplored, and ocean is one of them. We never realize the amount of wealth that is hidden inside the ocean, the metals, the minerals, biodiversity, fisheries. In fact, the other day there was a delegation from Australia, and I was telling them in a lighter way, and I said, you come from a place where the island is called Australia, the country is called Australia, the continent is called Australia, but the ocean is not called Australian Ocean. But I come from a country where the ocean is called Indian Ocean. And maybe our forefathers named it so because they thought many generations later we'll try to pick up the hint why it isn't being named so, and then get that idea of something hidden inside. Like, you know, in the pre-banking days, at least in India, the ancestors would put in all their belongings and valuables, dig a pot and you know, dig it deep inside the earth under the shadow of a tree, so that later generation, when they prefer to sit down in the shadow of the tree, they suddenly realize that there's something hidden beneath. So that is one part. It's a ocean degradation is a huge, huge stake for us. Melting glaciers again, because we are, I think that is another big resource which has not been earlier explored unless this government came in headed by Prime Minister Modi. The Himalayas, for the first time we started aroma mission, we started floriculture mission. And of course the satellites, now that we are very much into the space business and the debris, we have already about 3 years back installed one of the latest equipments for debris detection in our center in the Bengaluru. And I think, though fortunately so far we have never had the opportunity, thankfully, to be confronted by the judges. But tomorrow we may. So it's equally important for us, people like me and Shubhash, to educate ourselves about what the jurists think about us. Because the judiciary also is confronted with all these issues which go beyond the boundaries of the countries, because all these issues that I have enumerated just now a few moments back do not know which country ends and which begins. And at the same time, the technologies like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, like quantum, they are in general influencing our thought process, advertently or inadvertently, which even the children would not realize before they had been occupied by that influence of these new technologies. And therefore, that makes the task for all of us quite difficult, very much onerous even for those who are sitting at judgment over all these issues. And there's so many contradictions. For example, there's privacy versus surveillance, the liberty versus national security, the ownership versus protection of data, so you can't give up one for the other. And as far as the artificial intelligence is concerned, I think the youngsters know better than me. You have so much automations happening, so you don't know. Even if you see a news, you don't know whether it's real or fake. So you always have to look at it with a certain amount of skepticism. And therefore, the jurist today stands at the intersection of legal interpretation, also at the same time scientific understanding, and above all the moral responsibility, which is in other words the integrity, to put it in a single word, because you can replace everything, but you can have no replacement for the integrity. So even for the judicious use of all these tools, which I was just mentioning, was the artificial intelligence, etc., you have to have a high degree of integrity to avoid all those other contradictions that I now spelled out. And realizing this, I am glad, I am also proud that I am associated with this. Prime Minister Modi has been very encouraging in allowing us to initiate India into some of the future-ready projects, initiatives. Because earlier on, we were behind the rest of the world, about 10, 15 years back. Like, for example, the simplest example is that of the television. The students, I don't know whether they would recall, or maybe you have read if you are interested in history, the most talked about election of US president in the history of America has been that of 1960, when John Kennedy turned the tables of a veteran called Richard Nixon, who suddenly emerged victorious. So here you had a young 40-year-old handsome man, known for his charisma and his good looks and his oratorial skills, and he suddenly turned the tables on Nixon. And all this happened through a TV debate, whereas we in India neither knew what is TV nor debate at that time. And I was telling some of the students in Delhi that even the national capital of India, Delhi, saw its first Chitrahar, which was known as somewhere in 1970. But it's no longer so now. We are among the very few countries in the world, rather that elite club, where we have already initiated quantum mission. We are among very few, we have already launched a mission for cyber security. We are among very few, as I said, who have already launched deep ocean mission, maybe the only one. We have also another mission for artificial intelligence. And we are also among the few who have launched a dedicated policy for biotechnology, which I'm sure the students who should feel interested. If they're not feeling interested, they're losing out on time. Because about 3 years back, we did a survey in class 12 level students in Delhi, and we found that biotechnology has suddenly emerged as the 4th or 5th priority for them to choose their subjects, because huge lot of opportunities there, both of livelihood and a lucrative source of earning. So we have a policy called BioE3, which means biotechnology for environment, biotechnology for employment, and biotechnology for economy, which is also in a way related to all these issues that we are talking about, whether it's climate change or glaciers. And we are among the first, we are rather the first who came out, when we are talking of the pandemic, with a DNA vaccine for COVID and gifted it to the rest of the world. And the amazing part of it is, which is not often realized or talked about, is that India is a society which was never taken very seriously for its healthcare practices. If a child fell sick, they waited for 3-4 days. If he got well, Maa ka Ashirwad ya Madam Gandhi ka Ashirwad. If he didn't get well, or what do they say, hit the bucket, तो फिर अपना ही कर्म, क्लास में गलतियां करते थे उसका भुगतान. So we had homemade placebo remedies. That country today, within a few years, has come to be hailed as a global leader in preventive health care. And now we are coming out with a series of vaccines after that. About a year and a half back, we've come out with the first ever vaccine, HPV, which is said to have a protective role in the occurrence of cervical cancers in adolescent females and young females is more prevalent in India. So what I'm trying to say is that we are already into it. And our biotechnology is also emerging as a huge source of income. We were just about $10 billion when this government came in. Today we are close to $200 billion, soon we will be 300. And then of course our space program. Our space program, till these new space reforms came up, and we had a Prime Minister who could allow us to open ourselves to the private sector, because otherwise both the Department of Space and Department of Nuclear sector were working behind a veil of secrecy. Our space department was hardly contributing to India's growth. We had a very dismal economy. We had a single-digit startup. Today we have close to 400 startups who are not only startups in the sense they are millionaires rolling in millions, very lucrative entrepreneurs. And I'm sure, I think the students should be conducted a visit there. Subhash was just now talking to me about this. It's highly inspiring how within a few years they have, because now even the FDI investment is allowed. And our space economy was dismal till about 5 years back. Today it is $8 billion US dollar, and the projection indicates that in 7-8 years we'll be 4 or 5 times higher, because the pace of rise is so rapid. So we could be 40-45 billion, which means that these sectors will be also contributing to the future economic growth. And more we grow, the faster we go, the more the contradictions, the more the confrontations, the more the conflicts, and more the bench of the judge. So that is how I connect myself to these learned lords. And therefore, importantly, India can and has to an extent placed itself in the intergenerational justice at the center stage of all these frameworks. And the planetary stewardship calls for judicious governance of all these critical systems confronted by Mother Earth at this age and time. And therefore, for judicial leadership and jurisprudence, I think the four vital factors would be: A, the strengthening of international environmental law, because it can't be happening in silos, that I observe some norm, the others don't, because the outcomes and the effect would have to be borne by all. B, the regulating the emerging technologies, because as long as we are able, we don't train ourselves to tame ourselves, where to stop. We need to have some regulation which imposes those checks for all those contradictions that I was talking, whether it's the privacy, whether it's the automation, whether it's the cyber threat. C, the updating of the legal framework. When I talk of oceans, when I talk of space, there are certain imponderables which were not imagined or visualized about 2 decades back. You didn't know that you would someday have to confront an issue like space debris, for example. So tomorrow an RTI is filed or a PLI is filed in a bench asking for a remedy against debris or asking the government what it has done. Like nowadays you started receiving such public litigations against air pollution. So what do the judge do? That means we need to have a law. We may not have a law at all. Even if it is there, we may not have updated it. So also is ocean. In fact, Mr. Singh, the IAS officer, is sitting there. I was telling some of the bureaucrats that I'm also dealing with the academy in Mussoorie. I said, someday you might need to have a mining secretary for the oceans, because the illegal mining that you're seeing on the surface of moon will soon start happening in the deep ocean, because you have a much more amount of gold, silver, and diamonds over there. But we don't have a law in place. So I think that is, and fourth, of course, D is the embedding of the intergenerational equity in jurisprudence, which means that when we take up stance, when we pass a judgment, or we drive a conclusion, let's not forget, it might be in response to an immediate plea, and that might also satisfy the one who's put in the plea. But the effect of it is going to be for the next generation also, because the climate and the debris are not going to go away with me or with the other jurists. So they'll be there for the succeeding generations as well. And therefore, this, to put it in a single sentence, this is called intergenerational equity. The equity lies in them also, the boys and the girls sitting over here. And therefore, I think I won't take much because the moderator is there. We can take some questions, interactions, or take their observations and respond accordingly. I think today's judge has to look at himself not only as a custodian of constitutional values, but also a contributor to the welfare of mankind, the well-being of mankind, and also to the making of the future of mankind. And this calls for a global judicial network of planetary stewardship, sharing jurisprudence on global issues like AI, cyber law, climate, space, as I mentioned. And therefore, for moving forward collectively. And to that extent, I'm sure this conference taking place in the iconic city of Lucknow will herald a journey in that direction. And this will also give India an opportunity to spearhead this campaign and to emerge what Prime Minister Modi keeps reiterating, Vishwa Bandhu in the true sense. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for those remarks. You've done my job for me. I'm going to sit down now in laying out in wonderful detail the issue there. No. Please stay put. I was going to sit down. That's what I said. I think that you ended in a very you ended it, if you will. You gave us a sentence that I think can become the beginning of our panel. You said judges can no longer be just custodians of law, but essentially they have to take on, or they are being called upon to take on, the function of trusteeship, of caring for aspects of the world in ever-growing circles that maybe we weren't even aware of. It used to be that we could rely on the courts to deal with property and the rights of individuals in a very practical, tangible way. And now we're talking about outer space, the global commons. We are talking about places and things that the eye cannot see and that the body has not been. And I think this is requiring this evolution. This is, I think, what you're pointing to, this evolution in the function of the judiciary. So if we can shift quickly, we're going to ask Mr. Inderjit, as I said, who is here in Uttar Pradesh, and he's really he's a commander on the front line of the energy revolution, of the energy transition. There is nobody in this room who could not learn from the experience that he is going to tell us about taking India's largest state through a clean energy revolution. And I've asked him to just give us a couple of minutes of his perspective on this issue, which I think nobody else in this room can bring in quite the same way. After that, we will move to judicial review. It's a law conference, so we will be asking our two justices to then share some of their thoughts with us as well. Please, Mr. Inderjit.
Thank you, Joshua. And thank you so much, Honorable Minister Sir, Dr. Jitendra Singh Sir, who set such a tone or contest to these discussions. I really thank, sir. It is a very enlightening for me to listen you. I am a regular follower of you because your thought process is very clear on different topics. The department you are leading is the department of future, where India lies, future of India lies. That's what I think. As far as government of UP is concerned, government of UP, Honorable CM sir is very serious about this renewable energy. In 2022, Uttar Pradesh is the first state to launch 3 policies. First is solar policy 2022, second is bioenergy policy 2022, and green hydrogen policy 2022. I just want to discuss the impact of these 3 policies in next 2-3 minutes. If you see Lucknow skylines, you will find lot of solar, rooftop solars on the individual households. Just imagine whole Uttar Pradesh. The scale, I just want to give the numbers and the scales. And Honorable PM sir, this PM Surya Ghar, Muft Bijli Yojana, is I think the best scheme launched after independence. I want to give the numbers. 1 gigawatt, 1000 megawatt capacity rooftop solar is installed in UP in last 2 years itself. 1 gigawatt. Just imagine, one thermal power plant is of 700 megawatt, just like Panki, Ghatampur is there. But we have now capacity to generate electricity from solar, from the individual household, that is 1 gigawatt, and it is increasing, ever rising. Just imagine the number and the impact of it. We are talking about the climate change. Just see one thermal power plant, the carbon footprint is huge because we are using coal and coal is imported. And it is the greatest substitution for our energy security. Like in Operation Sindoor, one question was always there about the energy security of India because we are importing lot of energy from the outside world, like in the form of oil and coal. So, but this is the one of the substitution which will help India to in self-sustaining this sector of energy security, and it is already on the move. And impact of it, the kind of job generation. Initially, we have 40 vendors who look after this rooftop solar. Now we have 5,000 plus vendors who are looking after this rooftop solars. The new age job generation lies in this rooftop solar, and it is increasing day by day. And the similarly, next sector is bioenergy. You will see agriculture waste, municipal solid waste. These can be converted into CBG, and UP is the #1 state in all over India. We have already 1,000 ton per day capacity for generating compressed biogas energy, which can be converted into green hydrogen, or we can use in our LPG or CNG's vehicle. So this CBG is generated from parali or rice straws, or we can use press mud, which is the waste product of sugar mills, or agriculture waste like Napier grass is there, and a lot of other feed stocks are there. Even the gobar is also there. So these are the basic sources which will come into the play, and we are providing lot of subsidies and incentive in these policies, and this helps to adopt renewable energy at the micro level, at the citizen level. Now citizens are not only consumer, they are prosumer. They are producing their own renewable energy at the source. So this is the new age, new concept under this government, and it is taking leap and bounds in the daily basis. The next is green hydrogen. This is the next future age fuel, because this green hydrogen is basically hydrogen is from I think last 60-70 years we are using hydrogen. But the carbon footprint of hydrogen is huge. To produce a hydrogen, we call it gray hydrogen. We use a lot of fuels which is already have a footprint of carbon. It emits lot of carbons. But if we use solar energy to produce this hydrogen, then it becomes a green hydrogen or renewable energy, any energy. Just imagine production of hydrogen from a sewer water, the sewerage. Like just to take the example of Lucknow. Lucknow produces daily 770 million liter per day sewer water. If we can convert this water into green hydrogen, it is a great source of income for our municipal corporation also, and also for it will help to preserve this environment, and we get a clean water also. So this is already started. This is in the pilot stage, and for the green hydrogen already we have 4 plants of around 20 TPD, but still technology is stabilizing, and 4 vehicles are also in the testing stage, and many initiatives are taken, and 2 center of excellence of 100 crores are sanctioned to develop technologies for this. The last I want to discuss is EV vehicles. EV vehicles penetration is highest, especially in 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers. In UP, all over India, we are the #1. But the concept required for this is to charge this EV vehicle, we can't use coal-based electricity, because then again the carbon footprint will be there. So what we needed is a solar energy, because that is ample in Uttar Pradesh. We can't go for wind, because wind is not that much as available in Rajasthan or Gujarat or other states. So we have to rely on the solar power. So for solar power, we need space, lot of space, and rooftop or DRE, distributed renewable energy, is the option for UP. And the state government is pioneer in it. Honorable CM sir reviews on the regular basis, so that we are on the #1 at the India level, and this is the new age business. Last thing I want to comment on the city administration. Like a Lucknow, suppose we want to switch to the cleaner air. So what is needed? Just 2-3 minutes last. What is the needed is, we have to think how we are using our electricity. Just to take street lights of all Lucknow. The total consumption for street light of Lucknow is around 8 megawatt. It is the 400 plus street lights are there. And the cost of that electricity, coal-based electricity, is 10 crore per month. It comes out to be 100 crore. Suppose we put a plant of 8 megawatt, it required around 1 acre for 1 megawatt. Sorry, 4 acre for 1 megawatt. So we need a 30-40 odd acres of land. So we put a solar light in the day. We have a battery storage system. In the night, we can use it. Electricity is free. We can save cost. We can convert into environment also. In similarly way, if we can increase the number of EV vehicles on the roads with this, then air quality can be improved. Already, Lucknow Municipal Corporation introduced 132 vehicles that clean the roads, that is based on EV. That's not a diesel vehicle or CNG vehicle. 132 vehicle who sucks all dust to PM 2.5, that is through EV charging. So that's the things that the government is taking. And what I want to tell to the students, the last concluding my remarks, renewable energy sector is the new age sector in which lot of future is there, just like science, technology, engineering, maths, and arts. But renewable is the new age sector, so I encourage all of you to solve the present problem, think about them, use AI, you develop new technologies, lot of scope is there. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tarjitji. I have a lot of questions, but it's not for me to ask questions. I want to make sure we save the time for some of our other panelists here. But I think you just heard a very dynamic picture, a big scale of the new work that's being done to protect the climate, in this case through renewable energy. You can see some of the challenges, you can hear them, you can hear how hard the work is, and you can hear the promise of it. I think now, if possible, one of the wonderful things about this conference is that we're constantly getting different viewpoints. And so now, as I promised, our next two panelists can give us a little bit of judicial review, and hopefully even from Southern Africa, from that perspective. And we have two distinguished jurists, justices with us. And if I can, I would just, I don't feel like I can ask you a question too much, but to give you the floor and give you an opportunity to share your views and your thoughts on this theme more broadly. So Justice G, if we can begin with you, please. You have the floor.
Thank you so very much, our moderator, and thank you so very much, Honorable Minister. And let me thank my co-panelists. And I wish to say to all of you a very good afternoon. And to our guests at the back, our most important guests, hello guys, I see you and I love you. I have asked the moderator to call me G. Why? Because my name is very long, it's tongue twisting. If you were to pronounce it, we were going to take him to hospital immediately because he would have beaten his tongue. Courts normally, judges, we proceed sometimes on the basis of what we call inspection in loco. That is, you leave a courtroom, you go to a place where you are told a crime or a wrong has been committed, to go and inspect and make sense of the situation so that when you come to a judge, you understand exactly what you are talking about. And one of the things that I have asked for from Captain Shukla is that the next time he goes out to the outer space, he should take me with him so that when I come back here, I can make sense of what I'm going to be saying about the outer space and the justice therefore. And he has agreed. He has agreed. So we have a deal. Now, the topic that we have been asked to discuss or to share thoughts on with yourselves is a very wide topic. And in all honesty, one cannot do justice to it in the short time that we have. Now, fortunately, from yesterday, let me say from Tuesday through to yesterday and this morning, particularly this morning and yesterday morning, we have had our students from CMS making presentations, talking to us, telling us and asking us questions as to what we should be doing as adults or what we fail to do. And in the process of their presentations, they have really made our job very, very simple. Because most of the things that we are going to be covering here, they spoke about them. They spoke about protecting the environment. They spoke about the judiciaries having to work together. They spoke as the world or the universe being one and as the people being the citizens of that one universe. So it's one globe and one nation. So we are one. Now, I come from a country with a very small population. Sometimes I heard my colleague, the speaker, saying that he has challenged us to say he comes from the smallest country, the two islands, with less than 1 million people. And at least I'm taking number two position in that regard, because Botswana's population is around 2.4, and we 2.4 million people. So if I were to bring them to Lucknow today, we'll just disappear into the 4.3 million people here, and you won't be able to see any one of us. So we come from a very small country, but the questions that we have to be asking ourselves is whether a country with a small population will have the same problems related to climate change that a country like India with 1.4 billion people is experiencing. That is the question that we have to be dealing with. Whether the problems are shared, the successes are shared, or we live in a world with different outcomes. We have been asked to discuss climate change and planetary stewardship, the legal framework and for existential challenges. Now, you see, when we talk about climate justice, the question will be whether you are talking about a legal concept. And as the expression itself says, we are talking about climate justice. And it's not really about law. Yes, it is about law insofar as we can be able to come up with a legal framework, and whether we'll be able at the end to enforce the provisions of that legal framework. Now, what climate justice really talks about as a concept of justice, it calls for, just and equitable solutions to the root causes of climate change that, bring about economic and other social injustices. Countries that are normally called the global south are at the receiving end of climate change because they are mostly poor, they are economically challenged, and we will accept in that category the countries like India, which although belonging to the global south is not poor, it is an advanced economy, it is challenging the global north. We will also for a while maybe want to exclude China because it tends to associate itself with the global south, although it is an advanced economy. And the reason why we are here, we are going to try and humanize the issues. We are not going to be too legalistic about it. Those of you who may be tourists who go to other countries, you may have been to, say, Zimbabwe or Zambia and visited the Victoria Falls. It's a very beautiful place, and it depends on the flow of water. Some of you may have gone to my small country in terms of population, of course, Botswana, and visited the Okavango Delta. It is another beauty, and people go there visiting to see the beauty of nature and what God has provided. Now, coming back to India, you may know about the Indus River, that for many centuries it has supported lives with clean water, people growing food and being able to sustain themselves. And the question that we ought to be asking ourselves today is whether we are able to enjoy the benefits of what nature or God has provided for us. And for those of you who may be coming from Egypt, you may know about the Nile River, that it flows through many countries, and it has supplied, livelihoods to those people. And some of the people who are along the Nile River. They are very, very poor. The countries are very, very poor, and they depend on that river for their livelihoods. And that river has to be continuously flowing so that the people can be able to exploit its natural resources. Now, why are we saying all these things? We are saying these things because we are not gathered here to theorize. We are gathered here to deal with matters of life and death. That if we don't look after the climate, if we don't do things that protect the climate, we are going to suffer as the peoples residing on Earth. Now, the requirements insofar as climate justice is concerned are this: that those who are responsible for causing climate change, for destroying the ozone layer, should take the responsibility to correct, because the effects of climate change affect the poor people. We have got no contribution in the destruction of the climate. And all that the principle says is that those who contribute adversely to climate change should be made to recompense those who are at the receiving end of climate change by way of making sure that the environment is rehabilitated to support human life. And generally, as the courts, where we come in, is on the question whether or not the courts will be able to enforce international agreements between nations, particularly those agreements that have been adopted or promulgated under the auspices of the United Nations. The United Nations has come up with, just excuse me. Because of time, I want to skip some of the things that I was going to share with you so that I save on time. Yes, the United Nations, through the Paris Agreement, imposes a duty on all countries to ensure that whatever they do, they must ensure that they don't adversely contribute towards climate change. But then it also says there has to be a differentiated responsibility. Those who don't contribute to climate change, such that it affects the economies and the ecosystems, should not be made to pay the price for the destruction of the climate. It also, in relation to in relation to, if we were to go to planetary stewardship, it imposes a duty for countries to conduct themselves in an ethical manner, and also to ensure that when they exploit and manage the natural resources, they do so in such a way that they preserve the environment for the benefit of the future generations. The agreement also imposes a duty in relation to what countries should do insofar as protection of the climate is concerned, that they should make regular reports to the United Nations. But there is a challenge. The challenge is that although countries are obliged to come up with laws that are aimed at protecting the environment. There is no corresponding, I don't want to say punishment, but there is no corresponding penalty for non-compliance, such that the countries are only required to file reports and to see whether they are doing enough to protect the environment. And that is a weakness which, as the Global South, we should be able to convince the United Nations to come up with treaties that can be enforceable through the application of international law. And our expectation is that national courts, when interpreting international agreements, they can try to take what the countries would have signed into to influence their jurisprudence in such a way that they can hold countries that have negatively affected the environment to compensate the poor nations that are affected. And I think
Justice G.
I should...
May I ask you, share with us a final thought, if you
Yes,
would.
yes.
Thank you. Please, I'm giving you the chance to finish, to wrap up.
Okay, thank you. Now, in relation to the outer space, the United Nations has a framework that is the Convention on Climate Change, normally referred to as COP21, signed on the 4th, adopted on the 4th of November 2014. It places an obligation on countries that go into the outer space, like Captain Shukla has done, that they should not go there and place weapons of mass destruction. They are allowed to do research that will benefit their countries, but they are not allowed to place weapons there or to try and say, no, now the space belongs for them, because we are all entitled to do exploration there for the benefit of our people. I think that is all that I wish to share. I'll deal with questions. Thank you so very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, for Justice G, I asked for judicial review, and judicial review was granted. I've been asked, if we can, to pause for a minute. I believe that Professor Gita G wants to greet our minister and allow him then to return to his business.
I would like to thank Sir, our chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, for his truly insightful address for our students and a distinguished guest. We express our sincere gratitude and respect, and we would like to do a ceremonial felicitation for Sir. We are truly honored by your presence, respected Sir. A huge round of applause for our respected chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, for his presence today and making our day even more special by his profound presence and his enlightening thoughts. Children, please wave your hands. Please wave your hands. This is going to be a memorable picture. We said to wave your hands. Children, stay quiet. Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla. Subhanshu Shukla has also joined the picture. Can we have all the children seated? The teacher in charges must take care of the discipline in the auditorium.
May we continue? Lovely. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue the panel. We have a few more minutes to go. With your permission, now that the Honorable Minister has departed, we are halfway through our judicial review, and I would like to ask Justice Musonda, if possible, of Zambia, to add his thoughts, I'm tempted to say any additional questions that you want to bring forward that your colleague maybe has left room for you to do in a brief way. You know, I wanted to make the point that was just made to us. We have intentionally combined an engineer, 2 jurists, a professor, and an astronaut. And we had a minister a minute ago. We lost the minister. He's not lost, but he's left. I say that respectfully. And what I mean is, for us to talk about these issues, we deliberately want to bring different perspectives together. The point must be made that any single profession or area of expertise represented on this panel cannot succeed alone. I heard Professor, I'm giving you the rank of professor already, Captain, Captain Chuk. He said yesterday that there were thousands of people involved in him getting to space, and he'll never meet most of them. And I think the same can be true in the engineering field. You stand on the shoulders of giants. Certainly in the legal field, this is also true. You cannot come to the job alone. And so I think, lest you think it is accidental that we have brought people together like this for this topic, I want to convince you, remind you, it is absolutely intentional, because we know this, and we want the students to understand this. To move forward, you have to work with others. You have to cooperate. You may bring one field of expertise. If you're extraordinary, you may bring 2. You will need 24 more to succeed. So that is the spirit of our conversation. That's one of the reasons we are so comfortable with the evolution of the conversation. The minister came, the minister went. We have no problem with that. You can see we're all relaxed. We're enjoying ourselves because we understand that the nature of knowledge, the nature of progress, the nature of evolution is dynamic. And so I think you should understand the body language of my colleagues here on the panel, that for us this is normal. This is part of the way we all move forward. With that, I give the floor back to Justice Musonda.
Thank you so much, moderator. And obviously I want to pay tribute to Chief Justice for his earlier remarks. But I know that this message has been delivered over and over again with respect to the manner in which we have been welcomed, some of us for the second time, into this city, and specifically into this school. I was sharing with my sister from Zambia yesterday when we were watching the performances by the students, and I was completely overblown. And I said to her that this is exceptional. Quite apart from the thank you. Quite apart from the warmth, the hospitality, the generosity, in immeasurable quantities that have been extended to us, here we are, watching before our eyes here what the students were doing, going through the processes, the levels of discipline. And I said, look, if the world had this type of schools, producing, as CMS does, world citizens, we would be far, far better. And it didn't surprise me that you have an astronaut from this school, because we older people like saying, you are the future leaders. Now, you can never be future leaders unless there's someone to prepare you for leadership roles. And this is what this great school does, preparing these citizens of the world, I call them, for their future roles. This is something really beyond me. But let me go back to my remarks. Again, because my CJ, we share borders, so he is also my Chief Justice, has already spoken. And under normal circumstances, I would simply say, I concur with what my brother, and I have nothing useful to add. So I agree and adopt as my very own everything that dropped from the CJ's mouth. I would just add a few words of my own. First of all, to observe, slightly away from law, that the earth we inhabit, the earth that, by the grace of God, I hope I'm not making any mistake, the earth that we inhabit and over which we have dominion is just one earth. It's one earth. And so we have a responsibility, regardless of the fields we're coming from, to preserve it, to protect it, and to ensure that it is there for all future humanity. Unfortunately, the earth suffers a lot of harm from our activities as human beings. We are the greatest danger to this earth that God gave us through our activities. But Mr. Singh here said, it's inevitable because we have to survive. Now, we have a responsibility. And the minister there mentioned that even the courts, we have a responsibility. And again here, it's a privilege to share this platform with this great astronaut. Never in my life did I ever imagine I would sit so close to an astronaut. And when he was in the shuttle, different people, and he was saying, here we are. We share one common, and we have to protect this. We can't differ. We have to speak one language. Same here. Our courts have a responsibility. Unfortunately, and as my CJ said, in my country, we have not only ratified all these conventions, the UN Convention, the Paris Convention, and all these, and we have gone further beyond mere ratification. We have actually domesticated this into our own local laws. because then our courts can easily get them enforced. And we also have created institutions. We have a whole ministry, which is called the Ministry of the Green Economy, the Environment and the Green Economy, which is dedicated to all these issues. But as this topic envisages, it talks about existential challenges. To this day, the statute which was promulgated last year for purposes of protecting and enhancing the health of the environment has never come into force. We have some statutes which were passed in 2011, nothing has come through our courts. There was one case which has come through our courts over the past, so far as I know, only one case. Now, Zambia is a mining country. And so we have so much environmental degradation. We have so much of irresponsible mining activities. And so we would have expected that our courts would then be busy. But this obviously is yet to begin to happen. So we are alive to all these consequences, the damage which is being caused. And yet, as you know, we all know that courts are passive institutions. They have to be moved. There must be someone with a dispute to approach the courts. Now, people are not approaching the courts to complain about plastics, to complain about pollution. And in the last few years, we have had one of the worst droughts in our country. My CJ there talked about the Victoria Falls. Now, there's another thing which is in the Zambezi River. Zambezi provides a hydro power for our country. Now, over the past few years, because of the drought, we have had problems with power. Sometimes 2 hours, other times a whole day. So people now resort to burning, what's called charcoal burning. I don't know whether people are familiar with this kind of thing, cutting trees in order to create charcoal, which is used as a source of energy. So hydro is suffering, the environment is also suffering. And although our statutes create penal offenses against these people who are burning charcoal, cutting trees, there's nothing serious that happens, even in terms of serious punishment, because these people have to survive. So these are real serious threats. And that is why, in terms of the contribution I would make myself, international cooperation is key. Resource sharing. We know that there is fatigue in many quarters to help, but we only have one earth. If someone is causing havoc to this earth in Peru, in Timbuktu, wherever, it's bound to happen to affect Washington. It's bound to affect Paris. And so to that extent, there is no choice but to keep mobilizing resources, to keep sharing these resources so that we can protect and preserve this one planet. Because if this one planet perishes, we perish with it. So perhaps I should end there because there's not much to say apart from what you said in terms of the role of the courts. We stand ready. But of course, there are these limitations which we are currently, facing. We have the institutional framework, we have the laws, but we are yet to see these things being fully implemented because of the limitations I have highlighted. We stand ready ourselves, and it's an honor for us to be given this responsibility to enforce laws which are aimed at protecting the environment. So we hope that we can live up to that. And unfortunately, the standards are different. I know that in Nigeria, there was one time, there was oil pollution, and the company was fined huge, millions or billions of dollars. We hope that can be a deterrent enough, even in our country where there is, to say the least, reckless mining in some cases, and which is occasioning, as I say, serious ecological and environmental damage. So thank you for now. I'll pause here. Moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, your appreciation. Thank you, Justice Musonda. You've been very patient. We have about 5 minutes left, and I think we want to take the opportunity of these last 5 minutes to turn to Captain Chuk. And I want to give you a question, if I may. You can choose not to answer it. That's up to you. But I think, many astronauts from William Anders in 1968, I think we showed the photo yesterday, Earthrise. This first photo taken from space of Earth, which actually started the modern environmental movement in many ways. He was followed by Neil Armstrong 2 years later, who began to speak out about planetary stewardship and the environment and sustainability. This is in 1970. And there have been many others since, including India's own Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian into space, who talked about the effect of seeing below the Earth, India, and the rest of the Earth without boundaries. And I think you might even have echoed that thought in our previous conversation. And so I found this very interesting because, to put a human being into space takes an enormous amount of science and money and effort and organization and industry. And so this is, for all the students who are studying STEM, this is the direct path. You need a lot of STEM to go into space. And yet, it seems that those of us, you need a lot of STEM to bring the astronauts back from space, hopefully. But it seems that all of that effort then leads somehow, it leads the conversation back to values. It leads the conversation back to sustainability, to stewardship, to the relationship between human beings, to the way we're caring for the planet, to the way we're caring for each other. And I would like to just put that question to you. Is there something there?
Very good afternoon to all of you. Quite literally, I think there is nothing there. Space is really empty. But something does happen that brings you back a changed man. Before I start, just to your remark, he said that you've never before sat so close to an astronaut. Fortunately for me, I have also never before sat so close to a justice. And I hope that doesn't come in the future. It doesn't happen. So. We are on the issue of climate change and how our Earth is changing and how there is a distinct need for us to, first of all, realize that and take some concrete steps to protect it or prevent what is happening. And I was reading about this interesting incident or episode that happened in the early 2000s when there was a sudden rise in thyroid cancer being detected. And people were puzzled, why is it happening so rapidly now? All the advanced countries like South Korea, the Europe and US, there was a sudden steep rise in the detection of thyroid cancer. But what had happened was that we had machines that could diagnose it. We had CT scans, we had ultrasound, and we had MRIs that was available to you. So it was not that the thyroid cancer itself was rising. It was just that we started discovering it. We started realizing that it is happening. Something similar happened when space exploration started in 1950s and 1960s. So in a sense, we knew that there is a crisis, that climate change is happening, but it was restricted to local pockets. When the satellites went up, they gave you concrete, irrefutable data that said that this is real, this is happening world over, and it's a problem that we are all facing together. Now, what happens when you travel outside the Earth is, to your question, to be very specific to what you asked, I talked about this yesterday, that you get a very real sense that this is your planet, this is your home. There is nowhere else to go. It is not about a place, it is not about a region, or not about a city. This entire planet is your home. What happens in one place, even if we don't see it visually here, it is going to affect you in a few months' time, in a year's time, however it finds its way back to you. So that realization that this is all we have and there is a need to protect it, it becomes very real. So you come back a changed person. It is not the same thing. And I'll be very honest with all of you, all the kids, especially this question is to all the kids who are sitting there. And I'll be very, very honest with you. I think all of us understand the problem. We know that there is a problem. There are few key people who also want to solve the problem. And somehow we always fail at the implementation. How do we get people to agree to what we think is the right way of going forward? And we don't have the answer. I hope some of you are able to put your minds together and come up with some framework, which allows the global citizens or the governments all over the world to come together and agree on that point that this is what we need to do and this is how we want to go forward. There are treaties, there are laws in place. Now we are exploring space at a very rapid rate. So currently there are about 13,000 satellites that are operational in space. And there are plans that this would probably very rapidly expand to about 35,000, 40,000. And this is, I'm talking about LEO. LEO is, low Earth orbit, up to 2,000 kilometers, just around the Earth. I'm not even talking about things that are going to go farther. Then we are going to go on Moon and beyond. How do we not make the mistakes that we have made here on Earth, outside? All these are questions I don't think we have really solid answers. We understand what the problem is, but we don't know how it is going to affect us in the future. So I think it is a very, very gray, it's a big gray area. And all of you who are sitting there on these chairs, and I would like to just, if I may, you mentioned STEM. Joshua said that you need STEM to send up and you need STEM to bring it down. I would actually add A in this. It is STEAM now, it is not STEM. Because the minute we start putting humans in the capsules, you need a lot of design that is involved. So it becomes STEAM. But the fact remains that you are all going to be a part of this STEAM that is going to send humans to space and bring them back. And right now, there is a need for you to understand of what the challenges are. It is not just a technical challenge. It is not just a technical problem to take someone from here, send them to space, bring them back. It is going to be an ethical one. It is going to be a moral one. It is going to be a huge responsibility that you have to understand now. And I think it is the time. In today's world, there is no restriction on information being available to you. So start reading up, start learning about these things, and there is a need for a bottom-up approach. Our parents used to teach us, our teachers used to tell us all the time, this is what you need to read, this is what you need to do. But I think it is time now the kids have to learn new things and tell us the other way around. No, this is how we have to go, because this is your planet, this is your future. We may not be there when you grow up, but it is your place. So I think it is a huge responsibility on you to understand these things and go into the fields with the right mindset to find the right solutions to the problems that we are facing globally. And with that, I would let you be, because I would like to end by saying just one thing. I thought that I will have more time. Joshua gave me only 5 minutes, and partly to blame is Justice Jean sitting next to me. He did ask me how much time do I have, and I very candidly told him, oh, you can speak as long as you want. And he said to me, I will keep you here all night. He was serious, and he took time, so I have just about 3 or 4 minutes. So thank you for being here with us, but I would still urge, you have to be actively involved. This is all of us together. We have to go forward, finding solutions together. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been very kind, you've been very patient. We've brought you the best the world has to offer. We started with a medical doctor who was a minister. We've had an energy engineer. We have had 2 justices, a distinguished jurist from Southern Africa, and our friend Captain Shook, who has been places none of us have been, and come back to tell us a little bit about it. I hope you've enjoyed this panel, and we invite you to continue with the rest of the program and to have a wonderful final afternoon of the conference. Thank you.
Although there is no time to ask questions from the floor, I did want to pick up on one thing that Dr. Jiten Singh ji said, and he talked about deep sea exploration and the resources that that might bring up. And, you know, we're exploring the deep sea, we're exploring, you know, the heavens beyond, the space. And I was intrigued to hear from Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla just now regarding how satellites, the 12,000 or so satellites that you mentioned, some of them are up to 2,000 kilometers, lower Earth orbit, 2,000 kilometers away. And that's called the lower Earth orbit. So I'm just a bit concerned. You know, one of the things that the speaker of Antigua and Barbuda said this morning is that sometimes you feel like, you know, saying, stop the Earth, I want to get off. You know, and I'm feeling like that at the moment because, you know, and it's up to somebody like Shubhanshu Shukla to help explain why we should not be worried about this sort of thing. The fact that we've already exploited all the resources of the earth that there were. Now, if there are minerals and gold and diamond and other resources in other parts, you know, other little nooks and crannies that we've not, nooks and crannies that we have not yet exploited, and if we are, you know, how shall I say, very dedicatedly looking for those niches which we can now further explore, I feel, I'm worried that we might be just extracting more and more and depleting what there is, and should we, you know, is my question. So I would love to hear from Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla and from Mr. Inderjeet Singh Ji, because both of them have, you know, have their different perspectives on it as people who are looking after, well, in your case, looking after energy as well. Thank you.
I would just make a point here, ma'am. I would like to highlight one thing. What I mentioned was that there are 13,000 active and operational satellites right now. There are more than 36,500 objects that are more than 10 centimeters in the orbit today. There are almost 11 lakh objects which are between 1 and 10 centimeters. And there are 128 million objects which are less than 1 centimeters. So it is not 13,000 satellites. This is the number that we are talking about. It is in millions that is in space, and all of them are traveling at speeds in excess of 6 to 7 kilometers per second. So that is the kind of debris that we are dealing with. So it's not a small problem. That is why when I said that if we are going to do this in future, which we are, we have to be really responsible of what we want to do, how we want to do this when we go forward. Thank you.
As ma'am asked, just ma'am mentioned the speed with which we are using the resources of Earth, what the way forward, that's what I conceived. The way forward is to use existing resources very judicially. For example, I just wanted to mention, suppose you take agriculture. So there is a concept we called agri-PV. So there is suppose I want to put a solar plant over a land for a 1 megawatt, I need 4 acres of lands. So there is a contradiction between food security and energy security. So what is the solution? Solution is just put a solar plant and under the solar plant there should be agriculture. And this experiment is very successful. Already in UP 2-3 plants are there. So if we use things which are sustainable, which are environment friendly, and new thought process. So everything which we did in last 50 years required re-engineering, redoing, and the new way of doing with respect to environment. There are n number of examples which we can do. Just as Honorable Minister mentioned about the oceans, the way we grow food, the way we extract minerals, everything can be relooked. Just I have a chance to visit Japan. They are already working with the sea for the seafood to really establish whole energy needs of the human being from the sea. Like seaweeds, algae, they have already developed n number of things to cover all nutrition's need. So we need to relook, which we are very fortunate that we have a very good education system in India. The kids like you are already aware of this. At our schooling level, we are not as involved with the environment as present generation is doing, this will has a very positive impact. The kind of the seminars or conferences which CMS is doing like this is again is basically to change the consciousness of actually one generation. So that will bring the new things, new technology. With the advent of AI, many existing problems will be solved in coming futures. Even just example, if we take solve this hydrogen problem. So if we have a hydrogen as a fuel, then the output is only water. Only the requirement is that it should be a green hydrogen and it should be cheap fuel. So then many problems linked to the environment, air quality will be resolved with this, because we can't go away with the mobility part, but we have to see how this carbon foot can be reduced. So already science and technology is taking place, more collaboration, more synergetic approach is required. Working in silos will not work. Similarly, the panel, like judiciary, administration, astronauts, we are sitting here. So this type of collaboration will help to solve the problem.
So thank you very much. I'll just say that, I used to think that when we say sustainable development, that's an oxymoron, right? How can you have development and it be sustainable? But what you've said in the Jeet Singh ji, it's like saying, well, let's be smart about it, and we may be able to then do both, but we need to have smart solutions and the dedication to preserve the environment even while seeking development.
Just one thing I want to add. There is a concept called this, which we always हर साल में हम लोग face करते हैं, जैसे urban flooding. So like in Lucknow, in the month of May, June, July, we face urban flooding. So if you look into it कि कैसे इसको solve कर सकते हैं, just एक example दे रहा हूँ बच्चों के लिए कि जैसे अभी हमारा क्या है कि हमने बहुत ज़्यादा concretization कर दिया है. What we did, everywhere we are developing concrete. अब मान लीजिए कंक्रीट कर भी दिया, आपकी बालकोनीज है, घर हैं, छतें हैं, अगर इसमें भी हम लोग गमलों में भी पौधे लगा लें तो जो पानी गिरता है उसका जो ज़मीन पे आने की जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है वो कम हो जाएगी. और छोटा सोल्यूशन है बट बहुत इम्पैक्टफुल है. एक तो ग्रीन एरिया हम लोग बढ़ा लेंगे. अगर सिटी का ग्रीन एरिया 70-80% करते हैं हम लोग, लाइक देयर आर सिटीज़ इन द इंडिया इटसेल्फ लाइक चंडीगढ़, वो हैव ए ग्रीन एरिया मोर देन 60%. तो अगर ग्रीन कवरेज हमारा 60-70% हो जाए मियावाकी फॉरेस्ट और किसी तरह से भी, तो हम लोग बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. घर में आप लोगों किचन गार्डन हम अगर लगाएं तो बहुत छोटे छोटे एफर्ट्स हैं. जो इस सेशन का नाम है ना, जो इस सेशन का जो टॉपिक है उसमें यही चीज़ है कि अगर ईच एंड एवरी इंडिविजुअल अगर उसको टेकअप कर ले और उसको क्लियर हो कि मुझे क्यों करना है, ये अपने कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कैलकुलेट करने लग जाए और उसको रिड्यूस करने लग जाए, थिंग्स डेफिनेटली इसको हम लोग टैकल कर सकते हैं. दैट द वे मुझे जो लगता है कि इस तरह से हम लोग इसको टैकल कर सकते हैं. पर हर इंडिविजुअल को रोल प्ले करना पड़ेगा, उसको रीलुक करना पड़ेगा कि हाउ मच वेस्ट ही इज जनरेटिंग, क्योंकि हर वेस्ट का भी एक बहुत बड़ा आगे जाके उसका एंड क्या होगा. जैसे अभी अमेजोन से हम लोग मंगा तो लेते हैं, लेकिन जो उसका जितना वेस्ट होता है उसको अगर आप एंड पे कॉर्पोरेशन जब प्रोसेस करती है, इट रिक्वायर्ड ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी एंड ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ इन्वायरमेंट कॉस्ट. तो अगर हम लोग उसमें भी अपने कल्चरल में भी जाएँ, पुराने कल्चर को लें, तो उसमें भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो हमें सोल्यूशंस देती है.
Thank you, honorable members of the panel, for your insights, diverse perspectives, and the depth of knowledge. Let us remember the powerful words often quoted. Dear children, it is for you. We are the first generation to feel the effect of climate change and the last generation who can do something about it. Together, we can strive for a world where climate justice is a reality and planetary stewardship is a guiding principle. With this, we come to the end of this panel discussion. And once again, children, please put your hands together for our esteemed members of the panel. And now, it's time for our last panel. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you to this panel discussion. The topic is Tackling Grand Corruption, Establishment of International Anti-Corruption Court. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our panel. With a huge round of applause, I welcome our esteemed moderator, Dr. Joshua Lincoln, who is a senior fellow at the Center for International Law and Governance at Fletcher, the Graduate School of Global Affairs, Tufts University. Sir, it will take 2 more minutes. And our next panelist is Honorable Mr. Justice Rezine Robert Zikamanda, who serves as the Chief Justice of Malawi after a distinguished judicial career spanning from resident magistrate to the Justice of Appeal. A graduate of the University of Malawi and the University of Hull, Justice Zikamanda is widely recognized for his leadership in judicial reforms, training initiatives, and unwavering commitment to the judicial integrity. His expertise extends internationally, having served as an alternative judge at the UN Special Tribunal for the trial of Charles Taylor. As Chief Justice, he leads Malawi's judiciary while maintaining the highest standards of judicial excellence and promoting systematic modernization. His comprehensive career progression through all judicial levels, combined with international tribunal experience, provides invaluable insights into contemporary judicial challenges, legal system development, and international legal cooperation. Justice Zikamanda's leadership encompasses both domestic judicial administration and global legal engagement. Sir, just 2 minutes once the curtains open up. So children, so you learned a lot today? Were you happy with the sessions? How much did you enjoy? Show me with a raise of your hands. I'm sure all of you understood what was going on. Okay, a good number of hands are up. Can we have our panelists, Dr. Joshua Lincoln and Justice Rezine Robert Zikamanda, up on the stage? Students, can we have silence? The teacher in charges, please take care of the discipline.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, good afternoon. I salute your patience and your strength of character in staying with us. But we have a very special next guest to speak to us. You know, we've talked about so many different problems of humanity in the last day and a half. I won't list them all. But one of the things that I think was talked about a little bit this morning, but we are going to hear a little bit about it more from our justice, eminent justice from Malawi, is, you know, democracy and the rule of law, they don't really defend themselves. We have to care for them, and the same way that we have to care for the environment. We have to care for our planet. We have to care for one another. And this panel, our next guest is going to speak to us a little bit about one of the issues of interest, of concern, of thought that he has been giving to this question of the idea of an international court to fight what's called grand corruption. I will let him define the topic and explain it to it in greater detail. But as we all know, corruption can happen at the very low level, and it can happen at the very high level. When it happens at the very high level, this is called grand corruption. So it doesn't happen on the street, it happens in the office, in very high offices often. And it presents a real challenge to democracy, to good governance, whether it's at the national level, the local level, or the international level. And it's one of the issues that is getting more and more attention today, because it is understood that if you leave corruption in place, it will eat out your society from the inside. I think we all know this intuitively. We all rely on the rule of law and the application of the rule of law. And so we're going to give our attention, please, to our esteemed guest. And please, I'm asking you to welcome him with a round of applause, and he'll take the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that kind introduction. As a matter of fact, I'll not take too much time because one, I don't want to be between you and your tea, and the other is that I think we have a meeting after this, not long from now. And there's an important reason why I will not take too much of your time. It's because the subject that I'm going to talk about has been touched upon throughout the day today, corruption. I have sat through all the presentation, faithfully, all the presentations since yesterday. And those presentations have highlighted the problem of corruption in some way, one way or another. Even the presentations by the students themselves highlighted this as a problem. So because of that, I will not take too much of your time. But I might say that I'm once again deeply honored and privileged to be here, to be a part of this very, very important Conference of Chief Justices. As you might be aware, corruption is generally defined as dishonest or fraudulent conduct by persons in power or authority. And that conduct involves bribery or abuse of office. It is criminal conduct. It is conduct that disadvantages many. Some have defined corruption as an abuse of power and influence for personal gain, for gain of sometimes political parties, for gain of sometimes large corporations or groups of persons. Corruption is also used in terms of situations of conflict of interest. When you operate through conflict of interest, you might be accused of being corrupt. Even patronage or nepotism, influence peddling, or other, or even manipulation of legislative processes or other processes in order to disadvantage oneself and disadvantage others. All that falls into the category of corruption. And evils of corruption are commonplace. I'm sure that we are all aware of them. Sometimes substandard work is done because of corruption. Sometimes medicines are not provided in hospitals because corruption was involved, and people die because of that. But when it comes to grant corruption, which my moderator touched upon, it doesn't have an agreed or universally agreed definition as to what grant corruption is. But many look at grant corruption as an abuse of high-level power by governmental officials for personal gain through subvention of public institutions, again for private benefit. The definition of grant corruption often refers to elements that are contained in grant corruption. And these are the common features of grant corruption. For example, grant corruption occurs at the highest levels, and it tends to be systemic in an institution, so that it is a practice that is ingrained in an institution. It becomes grant corruption. It involves large-scale sums of money or large-scale luxurious property that benefits few individuals at the expense of others. And grant corruption has widespread harmful effects. And instances, like I said, include awarding big contracts, construction contracts of big public projects to those who are not qualified, with the idea that you get a benefit from that kind of award and share the proceeds afterwards, behind the scenes. Grant corruption has been viewed as a human rights crime. Usually it goes unpunished because there are so many, there are high stakes involved, and there are so many who want to make sure that it is not known and they do not get into trouble. So that national authorities may not be enthusiastic or even may not have the capacity to deal with grant corruption. Further, grant corruption involves more than one country. It tends to be transnational. The proceeds that are being paid, they would be paid in another jurisdiction, for example. If I have, we have a national project of constructing a hospital or some other public facility, payment would be done across the borders, in banks, across the borders or beyond, in foreign accounts, so that you don't see it within the country. It must be said that the urgency of the problem of corruption has led to some countries establishing specialized national courts to deal with corruption at the national level, to deal with financial crime cases in a more efficient and timely manner. I have an example of Malawi itself. The Malawi judiciary, under my stewardship, has in the past 3 years established a High Court Financial Crimes Division to deal specifically with corruption cases and financial crimes in order to respond to the urgent need of fighting corruption. But I must say that it was not easy to come up with this court. There would be forces against such kind of establishment of court. In fact, there will be stories like, why establish a specialized anti-corruption court at the national level when you have the criminal court which can deal with the crime of corruption in any other way, like any other criminal matter. And there are others who say, well, it's a waste of resources, as a matter of fact. But we were convinced in Malawi that it was important at national level to have a specialized national court, a specialized anti-corruption court at the national level. I'm raising the example of the difficulties of establishing a national court, anti-corruption court, because it also speaks to the difficulties that have been faced in establishing an international anti-corruption court since people began talking about it. I am here to confirm that an initiative was formally made in 2012 by Judge Wolf in the United States of America, seeing the impunity that is accompanied with anti-corruption matters, that there should be an international anti-corruption court. That initiative was intended and is intended to cover a vacuum in the accountability processes of a country, so that corruption at the grand scale should be dealt with before it actually causes problems to society. And also that corruption should be prevented, grand corruption should be prevented. This initiative, which started in 2012, has gathered momentum since then, with a lot of countries, a lot of high-profile thought leaders supporting it, NGOs supporting it, and it has now come to a point where I think we heard this morning that we are quite close now to having an international anti-corruption court, and we have been given about 12 months or so before the statute that is going to establish that court is put in place. Again, this process has not been easy, and it requires a lot of collaboration. It requires a lot of support from all of us. There have been support from many institutions. Many governments have now supported it. They have bought into the idea. Many former presidents of different countries have bought into the idea. Many NGOs have bought into the idea. Even some laureates have bought into the idea, and they support this. The most recent support that I have in mind came from some parliamentarians in the UK, both from the Labour Party and from the Conservative Party, saying that the idea of an international anti-corruption court is a good idea and that they would go along supporting it. But the campaign goes on, and the campaign requires all of us. To me, this is an important platform where we can join into the campaign. This conference can join into the campaign and support the campaign, so that the International Anti-Corruption Court is established. It has taken more than a decade and a half thus far, and perhaps it will take another decade before it actually comes into being. But our support might lend a hand in accelerating the process. So, as a final thought, I am calling upon this conference to take part in rendering support to the idea of establishing an international anti-corruption court. I guess that's as much as I can say for now, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. Justice Zikamanda, I hope we can sit and maybe have a couple of questions just to deepen the conversation. Is that okay? Thank you, Chief Justice of Malawi, ladies and gentlemen. My first question is a practical one. Do students need to worry about corruption?
Students need to worry about corruption, because corruption has harmful effects for today as well as for tomorrow. We've been talking about environmental challenges. If corruption comes into play in the environmental challenges that we've been talking about, then those challenges will be expedited. They will be more pronounced than they are now. So we shouldn't allow corruption to go into our fight against climate change. We shouldn't allow corruption to go into our way of life, because if it does go into our way of life, then our whole way of life will be distorted, and our future as children of this earth will suffer because of corruption. So the students should be worried about corruption, and they should urge, in fact, they should be at the forefront in the drive against corruption. Thank you.
I was just, as you were saying this, I was thinking that corruption is in a way is another form of pollution. It is a different kind of pollution, but it affects the mind, it affects the material conditions in many ways. Why do we need special national courts on corruption if we have national criminal courts already? Could you explain that as well? Meaning, what is it about corruption that means we have to create a court especially for that at national level? Then we talk about international level.
Thank you very much. We need to have national courts. As we found out in Malawi that corruption cases were not being processed fast enough. And corruption, like I said, has devastating effects on society. And you don't want to postpone dealing with it when there are devastating effects occurring. So we thought that if we have specialized courts, we have special expertise in the courts, that will accelerate the administration of anti-corruption justice and deal with the problem perhaps once and for all, if we may say so, to make sure that we don't allow room for it to thrive.
Thank you. And my last question for you. You've spoken about this campaign for an international court on corruption, and it has already been working for 10, 15 years. Can you just, in a few words, tell us what the successful pathway looks like from today to a convention, I suppose, or the creation of an international criminal court? What do you hope to see happen?
Thank you very much. At the beginning, the campaign for an international anti-corruption court was very slow. Some of the challenges that the campaign faced were that we have an international criminal court already in existence, and we are losing faith in the international criminal court. What is going to make us have faith in an international anti-corruption court? So that was one of the forces driving back. But over the years, a lot of high-level thought leaders have come to support the campaign. I just mentioned that in 2024, for example, in most recent times, the campaign has gained a lot of momentum, and we are hopeful that come in the next few years, I was hoping that it would be less than another decade, that court would be in place. But anyway, it's because of the various challenges that have been there as we try to garner support for the establishment of the international court. And that's why I believe that this forum is one of the platforms where we can also raise that kind of campaign, maybe through part of the declaration that will come up in the end, to make sure that we support the idea of an international anti-corruption court.
Thank you so much. I want to add 3 more words. We're in a school. When it comes to corruption and grand corruption, what are the values? Because we've seen a lot of values exhibited by the students, by the school. What are the values that you have to teach and that have to become part of your school in order to fight the problem of corruption later on?
Thank you very much. I think that in the previous panel, the Deputy Chief Justice of Zambia lauded the students here on their discipline, and he's not the only one who has lauded them. A lot of other speakers have lauded the students here for their discipline, because we need to be disciplined if we are going to really have a better world for us. And if the students can have those values that are being taught here about loving one another and sharing what they have and preparing themselves for a better future, those are the values that will help us to resist, reject, and perhaps report corruption, to make sure that we don't have any space for corruption in our society, in our school, and anywhere we go.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. thank you to Justice for his words. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joshua Lincoln and Honorable Mr. Justice Rizine Robert Zikamanda, for your valuable insights on anti-corruption court. And one thing rightly said, rather questioned, do students need to worry about corruption? So students, what is your say about it? Do you actually need to worry about corruption? Say a yes or a no. I can't hear. Yes, actually you need to worry about corruption. It is similar to pollution, as said by Dr. Joshua Lincoln, and he is apt for saying that, because like we do not want pollution-free world, we do not want a corruption, we want a pollution-free world, right? In the same way, we want a corruption-free world too. In that case, we all need to abide our rules and regulations, follow the laws and the rules and regulations in order to be completely corruption-free. Thank you so much, our esteemed panelists, and we actually want to give a huge round of applause for all of you to be here with us. And now the protocol officers can kindly lead their guests to the lounge area for the tea or the coffee. And students, you need to sit at your places as of now till the guests move. And after that, you all can accompany your teachers in order to move to your buses and reach home safely. Have a nice and wonderful day. Keep sitting right now.